Welcome, 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 lovely ones. We're back again, Kim and Joanna, talking about being disruptive by design. How manifestors we're just typically disruptive when we're owning our power. But we get to do that in a lovely, feminine, energetic way. So today we are going to be discussing in episode number 4, work shifts and energy cycles. Play to your strengths. We're going to go way deep into Joanna's life as a corporate executive, all of her life, and as a manifestor, that is our worst nightmare. We're going to talk about the 3 shifts of work for women and what has actually been considered since the 70s, the invisible work of women. And for manifestors, wow, is that exhausting. So take a deep breath. As always, join us, grab a coffee, have a seat, and just come home. If you enjoy what you hear, please do share us with your manifestor girlfriends. Leave comments, ask questions. We would love to hear from you. And you will find the transcripts and summaries below. So give us a thumbs up and like us, because that's how we get to know you and you get to know us better. Woohoo! Okay. Hello, Joanna. How are you today?
I'm great.
Okay, I'm going to humorously share just a little bit of tidbits about what's been going on behind the scenes, because I think that's always much more fun, you know? So today, in episode number 4 of Being Disruptive by Design, all about being a manifestor, a female manifestor specifically. We're going to be talking about work. And for our audience's benefit, we've had a few glitches this morning on what was supposed to happen and what didn't happen. And I didn't have any internet. And then blah, 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 blah. And this is just so perfect because it gave me an opportunity for us to really look at like, okay, how do I respond to that? Like, I was talking about like when I say something 3 days later, I don't remember what I said, which is such a manifestor quality. When I make files and they seem really logical, the labels and everything, and 3 days later, I don't remember how I labeled them. So I spent a lot of time looking for things. And so you introduced a concept, you mentioned this, I think, in one of our other episodes about the 3 shifts of work and how we show up for that and what that looks like. And so what I would love to do to support our audience of all you fabulous female manifestors is, if specifically we're going to talk about work shifts, and I'm going to let Joanna explain that concept because I just loved it. And also because she works in the corporate world, which is the antithesis of basically how manifestors are designed to operate. Because of our limited energy, because of our creative burst, because of our need for downtime and rest cycles and all that. And so I am just going to be quiet and just tell the audience about your concept of your 3 work shifts, because that cracked me up.
Great. 3 work shifts. And as a woman, I feel we work all the time. Regardless if you are a woman that has a partner, regardless if they're male or female, if you have children, if you don't, I think we're working all the time. It's how we're wired. It's why the universe rotates around the axle.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? It's
invisible work of women. It's just the things that we do because we're communally centered.
And it's work is not, it can feel like a 4-letter word, but to work is to be active, is to be present, is to be engaged, right? So I wanted to kind of frame it that way. And when I became a mother, the shifts became very clear to me, a different way. That's when the clarity happened for me, that you wake up and it's the morning shift. So when I had children, they needed younger ones a lot of attention. like
Sure.
literally bodily function, changing diapers, feeding, getting them packed up for daycare, getting them ready for school. Uh, as they get older, I may not have the same routine, but there's still things where they're connecting with you. You are on, your boots on ground. It begins. Coffee, like pets, right? Feed them, change. All right, that's the first shift. Then you show up, and this is, I'm going to say, this is the shift you're not paid for.
Oh, of course.
Unpaid work. It's right. And then it's the paid work. Then I start my 9 o'clock shift, 9 to 5, paid work.
Yeah.
So that's the second shift. And then there is the third shift. So you come home. And regardless, again, if you're single, you got to find something to eat.
Right.
Right?
Everybody likes
You
to eat.
may have social obligations, or not obligations, fun. You need to connect with that. Same thing. I need to figure the bane of mothers or families is planning meals. Like anyone will tell you, and I'm sure there's a lot of
No, yeah.
like a lot of male home caregivers or primary role that also probably can relate to this. So you gotta, what's for dinner? Oh shit, excuse me. I didn't put out anything to defrost. What are we doing tonight? Is it scrambled eggs? What do we have? Oh my God, great processed food. Let's pull that out. Canned soup. Again, you're in that mode. You're driving, leaving your second shift. You're driving to your third shift. All of this is going through your head. I have actually, as I was driving to my final shift, I forgot the kid at daycare once. So I had to drive back because that's an essential piece, right?
Yeah, kind of important piece.
Oh my God. And then after sports and all that stuff. And
Sure.
then it's packing up and getting ready for the next day. So those are that's my definition of third shift,
Right.
three
Okay.
shifts. Um, and as I've become clearer on uh, my being a manifestor, it's it's almost like if you have three shifts in a union shop, that probably wouldn't be allowed, but you would have breaks. You would like literally legally would be required to
Sure.
give people breaks, or people
Right.
literally who like, so I've been learning that there's this in between time. And for some people between shifts, it could be working out, like before you come back to into your second shift, or before you start your work shift. Some people work out in the morning so they get it done, but there's these breaks or these needs to take care of oneself. And
Hmm.
it's taken me a long time. And at the end, to end your last shift, people have like sleeping rituals, or prayer ritual, or a glass of wine, or
Or
yes,
five. Right.
or five, or binge watching, and it's
Okay.
a form of ending. So uh, I've become more aware about the importance of that, and how when I don't do that, it becomes this massive, ridiculously busy life that you
Okay.
stop enjoying,
So,
right? You don't
okay.
enjoy it.
Right. Okay. But I just want to stop right here for a second because I want to
Yeah,
bring this, I want to tie this up for our audience. So
yeah.
basically, what I'm hearing is that, this is part of our conditioning. Is prior to learning that we're manifestors, we don't understand why we can't just go like the Energizer Bunny all the time, because that's
Mm-hmm.
what 70% of the rest of the world does. And that's the message. Nike, just do it. That's the message at work. Well, just get it done, or blah, 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 just did that. And so we keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And as a manifester, when you understand our energy, which is limited, it begins to make sense. Like, I'll be very honest, like right now, I am exhausted because I have not allowed myself to rest.
Mm-hmm.
I have not given myself permission to accept the rest cycle. And when we don't do that, what I have discovered is I would be up until 3 a.m. in the morning creating some work that I had overcommitted, because not allowing for rest time, like you said, not stopping, having this frenetic life, not taking into account rest. The work that I do, that I created, and you can tell me if this is true for you, was
Mm-hmm.
shit. not only was I pushing myself, not only was I staying up till 3 in the morning, not only was I like pushing myself to exhaustion and frustration and anger, but when I read it the next day, I was like, holy crap. Did I repeat myself? Yes. Are there a million typos? Yes. Is it disjointed and not cohesive? Yes. Because as manifestors, we are here to initiate. We're fire starters. Like, we're not here to follow through on all the details. As I said, we often don't remember what we said 2 hours ago or 10 minutes ago. And so somebody goes, hey, where's this? And you go, what? Did I say that?
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
So I love the concept. I've got 3 work shifts. And yes, legally that would not be allowable. Like, we would be penalized by the government because it's not healthy. And especially as a
Yeah.
manifestor, it's not
And only
healthy.
one shift you're paid for, remember? So if you were really doing 3 shifts, you'd get triple overtime,
Right.
you'd be
You get
compensated
extra
for that.
vacation days.
Yeah.
So the thing I want to really talk about today is, yes, the concept of working the shifts, and specifically the fact that you are in the corporate world.
Right. So
So
my second shift.
your second shift, your paid shift,
Yeah.
is like pushing you again completely out of your energy cycle
Hmm.
with expectations, with consistency, with commitments, in having to be in a response mode more often than an initiator's role.
Hmm.
So when you think about how you were operating before you understood that you were a manifestor and you think about it now, do you see a difference?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, yes, I do. And so in the beginning of my career, anybody regardless of your human design thing, but in me as a manifester, uh, many years ago, learning the rules was a big shocker for me. Like
What do you mean by
you didn't
that?
read, it was so many rules, so much hierarchy. Like I experienced it in school, but like not to the extent when you enter a corporate environment. It's like you're entering another world, meaning like this was before I knew I was a manifester. So, and needing to follow that structure, maybe, again, requests to do someone's filing or find a file or organize work, set up meetings, again, requires a lot of attention to details and
Well, it's a
uh,
response too. I mean, like it's
right.
totally the antithesis. So,
Right. You are not there. You are not you haven't earned the right to initiate. You haven't earned the right to be the brainchild, right? Because that's my job. I've worked here X amount of years. That's when you get to present, initiate ideas. You get to pitch ideas. You get to be part of the person's team who initiated the idea and help make it happen. So for years, as an entry level, and I think it's important that some women entering or manifestors entering that first phase, if you are in corporate America, you got to go in with your eyes wide open. That there's still that structure in many environments that you are supporting the people who are initiating the ideas, right?
yeah,
Um,
even if they're not, so it's a continuation of conditioning because as children, as manifestors, we obviously don't get to inform our parents what we're doing. We get to ask
and
permission. And
and
then
it
you're in
definitely
school and it's the same thing. And then you go to
right.
college and it's the same thing. You have some much more liberty and freedom in college to pick your schedule and pick your classes so you can arrange it in a
And
way that
professors encourage initiating thoughts and ideas
right,
and
right.
be right.
But then you go right back, if you go into the corporate world, you go right back into like here, low man on totem pole, where you're responding, not initiating. You're having to follow through, whether you have the energy or not. You're having to pay attention to details. You're having to remember how
Hmm.
everything's done. It's not a
Hmm.
one and release and delegate. You're still
Hmm.
back in that
Hmm.
conditioned place.
Well, and the other part, that really, after a few years, like literally the feeling trapped,
Yes.
not having freedom, not having flexibility. So fine, I can follow these rules, but then it just started to like feel more and more oppressive, right? Limiting, which then, because I am that impacted my emotions, anger, resentment, um, uh, uh, I don't care. Do what you want with me. I'm not going to do it that way. Uh,
Okay, that's
uh,
perfect. Okay, so
right,
so rebellion and resistance, I got that. That's great.
right,
And
right,
we haven't talked about you're an emotional authority energy type. And so we
okay,
haven't really talked about that. But that's another key point when you're in the corporate world, because for you, you're nothing is in the now. Like everything is a matter of like waiting until you have clarity, until there's this emotional place here. So if you're consistently like angry because you feel oppressed, you feel trapped, you feel stuck, you know, and you're not in your
unheard, unheard.
yes.
Not about acknowledgement. Like for me, and another thing that I noticed was performance metrics, um, performance reviews. Uh,
Based on, I
I don't
imagine, completion and end product, right?
deference, respect, following the cultural norms,
How have you made it all
hierarchy.
these years? How have you, I mean, like, okay, how
So
have you
this
made
is
it?
interesting. This is how I think I've made it because I feel inside me, I'm fascinated. It's why I'm in organizational behavioral type of work. I started to find a way to be fascinated about how different people approach problems or situations
Mm,
and became maybe an observer. I was also just raised by incredibly amazing humans, people that you must respect, not like, yes, sir, a little bit of that, but everyone's different
mm,
and you must not judge, especially from my mom
mm.
and their backgrounds and everything else.
You have a
Um,
very interesting history. I mean,
yeah,
like your parents, like being first generation US. I mean, like
yes,
they fought really hard to make that happen. So
yeah, yeah,
so you had a lot of
yeah. And I had two
independent
very
thought.
different parents. Like my dad was like, he was definitely the rebel. The
Oh,
Yes,
really?
no, no, no. He was
Oh, he was the rebel.
a
Okay.
I if I knew when he was born, I think he may have been a manifestor. But
Okay.
um, my mom was probably a generator. But again, regardless. But there for them, it was not judging people. Really striving not to do that, and treat those as you would like to be treated. And that has enabled me to find pockets of my peeps
Okay.
the once in a while. And the thing is, you just can't suppress when it only after a while your body language. Like I was given in a review once that Joanna, you say you nod yes, but your entire body language is saying something different, and they
Okay.
use an expletive.
Okay.
My mom used to tell me that when I was in kindergarten,
Okay. Perfect. Stop. I want you to
right?
stop
So,
right here. Yeah.
yep,
Wait
yep,
a second. No, no, I want to tell our audience
yep.
like that is manifestor energy.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't your body language, even though that was probably the best words they had to describe it.
Exactly.
But it's your
Exactly.
energy, your independent energy, because as manifestors, people try to control us from the moment we're born
Mm-hmm.
because the
Mm-hmm.
energy is felt. So
Yep.
you, this is why it's like we've been talking about like our words are not even as our words are powerful because that's how we initiate and create is
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
through our throat center. And
Yep.
understanding that our energy, and I've said this, comes in the room before we do.
Mm-hmm.
So when it isn't just a matter of what we say, but that's a beautiful example. I know I just absolutely cut you off, but like that
No,
is
no, no. Thank you for
classic.
like, yeah,
That's
that's
so That's so classic. So that's going to happen wherever we are with whoever
And
we
it
are,
is because my home life was my parents spoke with thick accents.
right?
They were instantly going to be judged by how they were showing up. But the other thing that um, I also felt the energy in the room. So they may feel mine, but I would feel the energy in the room. And sometimes because I'm able to feel, like look at the different people in the room and feel it, and there were moments where I could initiate ideas or
You can
kind
always
of
initiate ideas.
get a sense, but getting in the corporate world, getting a sense of a little more like this could be a good time to initiate this idea. I'm going to put it out there. Or if I heard someone else initiate an idea that was in alignment to my idea, right? Or to the, again, for me, regardless of whatever my human design is, I'm all about the collective. If someone initiated an idea that was for the greater good,
Right.
I'd be the ally or the advocate. And many times that's where the relationship building or the people that, let's say, needed to always be the initiators or needed to get credit for it go, oh, she gets it. She could be my ally. She could be my advocate. She could be my advisor. So that's where I think I started to use, let's say, get involved more, less into the details, because again, my performance reviews clearly indicated I was not great at details. So massive spreadsheets, missing mistakes. Forget there was no spell check. Remember, there was no
Right.
spell check before.
R-
All those were dings. But then people go, but wow, she can work on a strategy team. So I think like once someone may see that and it benefits them, right, to be part of a strategy development team, which is usually what that to me means in consulting or whatever. You're initiating a plan and then you're on to the next one because there's always another plan in corporate America. There's always another project.
Right.
So I started to get involved or get put on or started to know to ask for. I like that work better. I like to create the big picture
Right.
and then move on and advise people if they're
Right.
confused about the idea or take it back to whoever on top and say the feedback is coming in that we need to tweak here, here, and here. What do you think? And then communicate down or initiate down for the new direction, right? So
Okay.
that was one way that I have been able to, um, or naturally, maybe not knowing I was a manifestor, find ways to thrive,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Yeah. Okay. So I want to stop right here because number one, we're almost out of time, believe it or
Oh my
not.
gosh, so sorry.
No, why? Number two, but I want to put a pin in it. Okay. Because what I'm hearing
Yeah.
is an awareness of what was working for you. And that's what I want to bring back to our audience. And I do want to bring it back to what I heard you say is basically what I said before, which is this, it's the energy that we bring to the project.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were talking to someone who's working in a corporate world, what I heard you say is really understanding how your energy can contribute, what lights you up, what you want to initiate.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that there gets to be a respect, of course, of like how things operate.
Mm-hmm.
That in your performance evaluations, like it's very natural. Everything that you got back, all the feedback that you got back is very much in keeping with your energy. Now we're all very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
And that even as manifestors, we're completely different people. And we're going to go through that in our next series when we're actually talking to a bunch of different manifestors and demonstrating how your type is not the be all end all because it takes all the factors in there because you have a defined head and ajna. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's very, it makes perfect sense that you would take this information and begin to put it into a formula that was more supportive for you even before you knew you were a manifestor.
Right.
And
Right.
and so what I want to tie back for everyone is just if you're just discovering it, understanding like what your frustrations and your angers have been about, understanding why people try to control you, using the strategy to inform, even if it is in a respectful way
Mm-hmm.
of informing, like, hey, I think that's a great idea, or hey, I think this allows your energy to actually be what it is.
A warm light. It's like, oh, it's not the light that like, oh, takes people aback. And that's the other part of like, in the beginning, your light as a manifester can be blinding to some people.
Yes.
So it's like you get to understand how to manage your dimmer switch a little bit to read the room. But the only other thing was in the beginning of my career, there was no rest because you're on this track to perform, to
Right.
excel,
Right.
to make more money, right?
Right.
Get your bonus target. That ended up becoming like, as we know now, that was not good for me. And
Oh,
I was at one point, even when we were between projects or downtimes before the holidays, things slow down. I would just keep pounding, right? But now, over the years, and based on feedback I received, basically said, you better enjoy the downtime, somebody said, because the next project's going to be really big. So when I was given permission to rest, right?
but that's key.
And then utilizing whatever corporate structure you're in, you're going to know the cycles. You're going to know the timing. You're going to know it's fourth quarter. It's end of year. They're doing their final budgeting. Use that time to
Well,
just decompress, right?
you you said it. It's like we feel like we need permission to rest,
Mm-hmm.
but if we don't rest, what we end up doing, basically, most manifestors burn out at the age of 50 if they don't know who they are and they don't learn to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Number
And
two,
corporate America is now, sorry, I'm so sorry. They're literally forcing people to take vacation.
well, of course,
Because
because
for a
they,
variety of reasons, but it's also because they're burning out. People are burning out,
well, yeah, and they
right?
don't want to pay for, mental health care. So, I mean, it's a big deal. Like expats,
Mm-hmm.
I could go into a whole story there, but we're out of time. And so I would really just, yeah, yeah, the timer went off. I'd really love to just wrap it back up and go.
Mm-hmm.
So, for women who are just discovering their manifestors, what I'm hearing you say is understanding, looking for, using your energy to look for pockets of time where you get to rest,
Mm-hmm.
not being afraid to initiate, but initiating in a way that fits into the hierarchy of how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Not taking it personally when you get evaluations that say, hey, you're not attuned to details and you don't finish things. You go, yeah, that would be me. But really, to be able to thrive in the corporate environment really requires that you understand what you're capable of doing, and you're capable of doing so much as a manifester. Um, and you're forced to respond to things. You're forced to respond to year end. You're forced to respond to schedules. You're forced to respond to your boss. So understanding that people are also going to try to control you because your energy is felt, and finding a way to initiate an energy, in my experience, of what is it you want to create? How do you want the interaction with someone, with your team to feel? And really choosing that energy, initiating that energy first before you go into anything is what I've learned has been the most supportive for getting the results that I want, instead of being angry and frustrated and tired. And really just, you have to be an advocate for yourself. Like you said,
Absolutely.
corporate America is now
Absolutely.
forcing you to take vacation. Like you absolutely get to take time off and rest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is there anything
It's,
that you'd like to add that, and I just cut you off, you're probably
well, I
about to,
kind of like coming back to like full circle to the three shifts
right?
is um, you have to do that between your shifts,
You have
whatever
to,
they are, and literally giving yourself space as you enter the next shift. How do I want to show up? How do I want, and trust me, it hasn't gone well
I
for
want
me
to show up
for many
rested. I
years.
want you to leave me alone.
Like, so when I,
No, that's very
so,
often my thought. Do not
right,
call
because
me. Do
you've
not knock
just
on my door.
finished this ridiculous second shift of being told how to respond, and you enter so just giving yourself a break
Perfect.
between them, whether it's even in the car and you spray yourself with
Okay, yeah,
some
you've got
kind
to
of
show this
essential
to the
oil.
audience. I think
Okay,
this is great.
this is she's in San Luis Obispo, California. You can look her up. We can certainly put this
We'll put that in the
on
notes. Yeah, but
heartdesiresoaps.com. And it's a scent. I don't know if you see it, but it's Bitch Be Gone.
perfect.
And this lavender, bergamot. So if you're a home kind of essential oil, and mandarin.
So we'll put some tips in there. So tips for it. I love that. You have to create a pause for yourself. You have to understand that as a manifestor, your energy is going to be felt. And however you're feeling, that energy is what you're going to initiate. So keeping in mind what you want to have received, to have back, to create, and giving yourself permission to just let go and to rest and to honor that cycle.
Absolutely.
Okay, I can't believe we're out of time. I can't believe actually we talked about 10 minutes past the time, but it's always so hard to stop. I love what you shared. I think that you have so much great wisdom to give, especially like younger women who are just finding out their manifestors and just getting started in the corporate world, to really encourage them to explore those things you want to create too on the side that make you happy, because it really is, you have the power to do that. So thank you today, Joanna. We will continue, and our next series is all about talking to different manifestors. So you can see, like, we're all so very, very different.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited. And we're just going to say a tutele to our audience for now, and we'll be back to be disruptive by design.
Adios.
Let's wrap up things for episode number 4. We focused on how to play to your strengths. Some of the key topics or discussions we had were around how the rigid corporate structures and expectations often clash with a manifestor's natural tendencies and can be misunderstood. I shared some personal stories and tactics around how to manage that, and we explored strategies how to navigate a corporate environment, like how the importance of managing your energy level, self-advocating, and initiating within constraints. We discussed the impact of the invisible workloads on women manifestors. I refer to it as the 3 work shifts, and how breaks and rituals are needed to manage transitions between various roles and responsibilities, as neglecting this can lead to burnout and frustration. I hope you enjoyed this episode and gained something from it. Please share this blog with your fellow manifestors or leave a review. Your support helps us continue to create great content. Stay curious, stay inspired, and come home to your unique self.